Alrighty guys, so thank you for coming back for another video. I already did the intro for this, so you guys know already that I do have some Grinds air suspension now, and I'm going to be installing it today finally on the Corolla hatchback. So I'm super stoked because this is something I've been wanting to do for the longest time. I was just waiting on everything to come in the mail, waiting on nicer weather, things like that. So let's just freaking get it installed. I'm going to be showing you only the most important parts of this install and everything. So of course, like uninstalling the current coilovers and stuff like that, I'm not really going to get into because it's just kind of a straightforward reverse from installing. And if you guys want to know how to install coilovers, check that out. I have a video of it on my channel. I'll put a link for it in the description. But let's just get straight into this because it's going to be a hefty process and it's going to be a lot of trial and error because I've never done it before. So I'm kind of figuring it out as I go here. So be patient with me and thanks for checking things out and let's get it. Alrighty guys, so here is the entire setup that we need to actually get this thing sitting on the floor. So we have ourselves the entire suspension setup, we have our compressor, our tank, our entire management system, all the lines, the electrical, the fittings, all that good stuff in that box. So this is a little bit of everything right here, and it's just a matter of taking out the old suspension and kind of getting this thing in the air and getting to that point so I can throw this stuff in and then start kind of buttoning up the rest of it. So I kind of have a game plan for this, but I know I'm gonna have to do some trial and error with like the wiring harness, the actual hoses, all that kind of stuff. So that's going to be my biggest Achilles heel with this install. As you guys may know, I also have to take off that entire cowl setup that goes underneath here so I can get to the top struts and all that stuff. So that's my biggest thing too. I've done it so many times at this point that it's an easy enough job that I know it's just a pain in the butt because it's so much extra work just to get to the actual struts, but it needs to be done, so let's just get it. I now have this entire cowl piece off. It literally only took me like maybe 5-10 minutes at most. Like I literally have done this so many times at this point. It's so easy and quick at this point for me. Whew, I'm out of breath though. But anyway, so we now have the top half of our strut undone on both sides, so these guys are ready to fall out. And I think for this whole process, I'll probably have to kind of leave this open because it's going to be a lot of like tweaking things and trying to get things dialed in. I have all my lug nuts loose and this thing is ready to get jacked up in the air, get the wheels taken off, and we could start working on this thing. Whew, I am tired. I'm just trying to get this thing done as fast as possible, so I'm of course just kind of rushing through trying to get it done. But I'm sure you guys understand, like after doing this so many times, it's just like I want to get it done, have it on air, and be able to enjoy it. The actual like putting things together part of this isn't that fun anymore. So let's just get it done, all right? So I'll be right back with you guys once I actually have all the wheels off and everything and I have all the suspension pulled out, because like I said, I'm not going to show you guys that part. I'm just going to get it all ripped out, and if you guys want to see how to install it and maybe reverse it to figure out how to uninstall your suspension, then check out my other video if you need that. So I'll see you guys in a sec. Alrighty guys, so far I actually did get both front struts kind of mocked up in here. I got the old ones out of course and got these new ones sitting in here, but I did run into a little bit of a hump in the road. Unfortunately, there isn't a quite direct fitment that I'm dealing with right now, so I just want to state though as a little disclaimer, don't let this scare you guys away from this company, because of course I am the first one that has this kit for the Corolla hatchbacks and just the Corollas in general. So I'm kind of like the pioneer of this. I'm kind of the one that's the little gopher, and I'm going to be working out any kinks and stuff like that and letting the company know so that way they can get everything put together correctly, so that way when you guys do go to buy these products, you can actually get yourselves a worry-free, stress-free install, and everything's just going to be a complete direct install at that point. So I'm pretty sure me recording this today, if I were to go on their website and look up the Corolla hatchback and find suspension, it's not going to pop up and it won't be available because I'm still working on, you know, getting everything worked out for them. I don't think they actually have it like on their website ready to go yet. So by the time this video does get uploaded though, I'm guessing it will be available for you guys at that point. But anyway, I'll just show you guys what I'm working with quick, just so that way you guys can kind of see what's, you know, what I'm dealing with, so that way maybe anyways, let's just get to it. So right down here we have ourselves the knuckle, and the top bolt is in, and as you can see, this bottom one doesn't quite line up, unfortunately. So for whatever reason, I don't know if maybe they based this bottom portion off of like another car and hope that it would work, but of course it doesn't. So far though, I will say at least the top hat does. So you do have the top hat that's completely bolted in right now, no issues. There's no, like, everything clears here in the top hat portion. I did adjust the camber on this already too to kind of match my old suspension. So there you can see we had some adjustment of the camber there. So I did that right away so I don't have to worry about it later. But yeah, just to show you guys on the other side here, I didn't quite get it bolted up yet, but basically I'll have to, they're gonna send me an entire new piece here that threads on. So I'll have to just unthread this guy later and thread on the new piece that they sent me, and it should be a direct bolt on at that point. So as of right now, I'm gonna see if I can maybe ream this hole just a bit, just to make it line up better. It's not, I mean, it's a little sketchy, but it's really not too bad. You're really just making this hole a little bit bigger in order to bolt it in. And it's not gonna be a permanent thing since they are sending me replacements anyways. So just wanted to kind of show you guys that so you know what I got going on so far. But yeah, like I said, I'm the one that's kind of here to be the fall guy for all this. So if there's issues, we can get them worked out. That way when you guys do actually receive your products, when you buy some, you won't have any issues like this. So hopefully we don't have anything to deal with in the back of the car, but we'll find out in a little bit here when I actually get there. And if there is, then I'll just get a hold of them, let them know, and we'll be able to work things out from that point. So I'll see you guys in a sec, and we'll see where I'm at from that point. Alrighty guys, so we do have one side in the rear button back up. We do have the shock back in place where the old one was, and we have the actual bag in place of where the spring used to be. So those are kind of mocked up, tightened up in there. But yeah, just to remind you guys, you do have to install this little like top hat piece on the actual shock body in order for it to fit in the car. So of course I took it off of the old ones and installed it back here on the new one. So this guy's ready to get reinstalled, as well as this bag needing to be installed in place of the old spring. Now I'm gonna point something out real quick. So there is like a threaded hole at the bottom of these bags, and Grinds does supply these little plates with a extra long bolt here. So I'll show you guys quickly. Underneath here, where the bag actually sits, if you would like, then you can actually have this plate down at the bottom here with that bolt going through it to actually secure this bag in place. I may consider it. The only thing is this bolt is way long. Like you'll probably only need like half of this, maybe even like a quarter of it. So I'll have to cut it down in order to install it, but most likely I'll install it just for like extra security and just having that thing really secured in place and everything. So I'll worry about that a little later. I'm gonna finish getting this other side buttoned up. Alrighty guys, so a lot has happened since I last spoke to you. There is a little bit of a mess going on in the trunk area or the hatch area right now, so I kind of have everything just mocked up so I can kind of see how everything needs to be ran and kind of just get a better picture of everything. And then I just did like a really rough run of all the hoses and like lines to each corner of the car, so that way I can kind of get that mocked up. I'm gonna have to take off some of like the belly pan stuff underneath the car in order to run 2 of the lines, and the other 2 are just running along the back, of course, so everything's kind of cleaned up back there already. I had to actually remove my cat back just a little bit, so I have the heat shielding laying there. I got the cat back laying there on the ground. But basically I'll show you guys what I got going on. So basically we have the tank set up here, we have the compressor there, and we have the actual management system there that all the hoses go to. So and just like a mess of wiring here for now. I just kind of have some of the stuff kind of tied together roughly just to kind of see how everything's going to be. And of course this plug's going to plug into this guy later. But yeah, so basically I'm just kind of messing around with everything, seeing how everything needs to be ran. And as you can see, so over here in this corner is actually where the fuel pump plug is, or something, I believe, because there's also a fuel pump over there that's like actual fuel pump. So this might be some other sort of fuel pump type system, I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, I basically just took a screwdriver and punctured just a little hole for each hose, and then just shoved the hose through there, and it just kind of made the hole a little bit bigger, and it's still like a really snug fit around each hose, so it's nice and waterproofed. But then essentially at the back of this controller is where each one of these is going to land. So I'll cut these down to length when I need them, and they're just basically all going to go straight into that. So it's really short runs like inside of here, so it'll be nice and tucked away. And just a reminder, guys, so I do have that suede piece that's going to go in here to cover everything. So you're still just going to see like a few hoses coming up going to that. You'll see a little bit of wiring going down underneath the floor from that, and then you'll have your tank here with a few hoses that'll be exposed. All this wiring down here will get covered up, so it's still gonna look really clean back here. It's just a matter of kind of having everything in here so I can get it all buttoned up for sure, and then applying the actual suede later on. But I'll kind of try to get underneath the car quick and just show you guys. So alrighty, so getting underneath the car here, as you guys can see, there is where all the hoses are coming through that little rubber plug. So this is the rear subframe back here. It's really hard to show you guys under here, but I just have one hose basically from that bag routed just a really short distance up through that plug up there. Then the other one I have that's gonna run along this rear subframe, and I'm actually gonna just zip tie it right to this subframe. And it just basically runs right along the back here. Like I said, I'll zip tie it really nice and snug to this, and then it's gonna go right around and to that bag there. So I have the hose just kind of shoved in there for now, but yeah, so that'll just route around the subframing back here. Then we're gonna get back to the front here. We have, so that plug area is up right above the subframe here, the rear subframe. So these are the two that are going to the front, and I just have those running basically right next to all these like fuel and brake lines here, and I'll just probably zip tie them right to those, and then from there it's just gonna route around. Sorry guys, it's tight under here, but here's these hoses. I'm just gonna follow these right underneath here, and this is that belly panning that I need to take off then, and they run all the way to the front of the car. And I'll show you guys that. So then from there we have at the front here where all those lines kind of curve up right there, basically coming up through the subframe up here at the front, and just routing it, kind of tucking it along, and then I'll route it right up into the bottom of that there bag. So I'll be able to kind of zip tie to the lines through here and just keep it tucked away from everything that moves. And then as far as the other one, I'm just going to route it along the subframe here, and I'm just going to zip tie it onto the subframe. Holy crap, I can't talk. So I'm going to route that other one along the subframe all the way around to the front on that other corner. And then just to kind of show you guys from there, as you can see that hose coming through right there, it's just going to kind of get routed through up, and then it's going to run right into that bag as well. So it's kind of hard to show you guys. I did the best I could there, but basically if I'm showing you from up here, you have one that's here routing across the subframe getting zip tied, one that's here, both of those getting ran with the brake lines and fuel lines all the way to the back, routing up through the subframe in the rear here, getting zip tied nice and everything, coming out through that plug. And then of course, as you guys can see, there's all four corners right there just hanging out, and we'll get them all routed and ran into the actual controller really nice. So that's that. That's like a major part that I was kind of worried about doing, but it really isn't too bad. It's just a matter of taking that belly panning off, stuff like that, so I can get it all routed through nicely, and then getting all the wiring done and everything. So I may, just for the ease of not taking all my interior apart, I may run like the power cable and any other kind of cable that I need through that same hole there, and then run it like all the way to the front along with these hoses, and then route it up to the battery from there, just so I don't have to mess around with my interior and all that good stuff and try to get it to the front. This way it'll be a lot cleaner, and I can just route it however I feel. The only thing is this wire will need to be routed inside here, because this goes to the auxiliary / ignition. So I'll have to route this up, and they give you like a little piece. I'll show you guys. A little jumper basically that you can plug into your fuse box, and then you can just tie that wire to it, and it will just bypass whatever fused device is already connected to that. So that's nice. You don't have to cut and splice any wires. They give you the opportunity to just use this. One thing that I'll note is all these fittings that came with the management system and everything. These are all fittings for the actual tank and the controller, but I'm missing the actual fittings for all my suspension, which I messaged them and they said that it should have came with my suspension, and I don't know where the box for my suspension went, so I can't really look and see. So of course I have to run to the store now and probably pick up some fittings for those. So I'm kind of stuck right now needing to go get some fittings for all 4 corners. So I'll be right back with you guys and we'll go from there. Alrighty guys, so it is actually a new day today. I didn't get super far last night on the actual build, but I'm kind of getting to the point where I have a few things yet to finish up, and then I'm kind of stuck waiting for those parts now. So right now I can't really finish up the actual air lines because I don't have the little fittings for them that I need, and then I also don't have those front collars, of course, for the front struts. So I'm waiting on those, of course, so I'm probably gonna have to just wait until all that stuff comes to actually truly finish this. But there is some things that I can do to kind of finish up you know, where I'm at right now. So basically, as you guys know right now, and it kind of sucks because it's raining a little bit today, but it's kind of slowing down now. But this whole cowl piece is out right now, so water's actually getting in there on some of the electrical components and whatnot, which isn't the best thing. So I can at least finish that up completely, because like I said, when I do go to replace these collars and everything, I can leave them bolted in up top. I'll just have to pull it forward, unscrew the collar, and put the new one on. So that's not a huge deal. So I could probably finish all that back together up top, and then from there we just have our big battery positive, this red cable. So I routed it underneath as well as the actual air lines, because I decided it's going to be protected by like this belly panning and stuff like that anyway. So I figured, screw it, instead of pulling apart my entire interior, now at this point I can just route that battery positive up either with those air lines, or I'll just find like a new spot in here, because there is some like different plugs and stuff that I could go through. But route that up and run it to my relay here. So that's what that's for. And then from there we just have like some of the negatives to do, and then we just have to run this guy through the interior, which is going to be a little bit of a hassle, but it shouldn't be too bad. Alrighty guys, so I'm working on just kind of getting everything set up a little more in the back here. So as you guys can see, we have the tank set up here, our compressor, and our control module. So I have all 4 corners coming up through this little grommet in the back here. So each one of these will actually get trimmed down and ran to the back of this here controller. Then I just have a line that will run from the tank to the controller, and the other line running to the controller. I also routed the power line, the main like battery power line, underneath the car. Zip tied it up nice and tight to the existing like fuel lines and brake lines and whatnot. So it's tucked way up in there, and the bottom like belly panning actually protects it too. So I kind of figured, why not run it out of the car, because it's a little easier versus like tearing apart the entire interior just to run like a big power cable. So I did that. I have plenty extra here, as you can see. It wraps all the way around, and then here's the end of it over here, and there's a mess of wiring. So then I messaged Grinds about these. Apparently some models need a individual like height sensor at each corner of the car, so that's what these would plug into. But apparently my system is all pressure based, so I don't need those, so I don't have them, which saves a lot of time routing wires and all that extra stuff. So that's kind of nice. I was excited to hear that. But then at that point we just have this little like relay block here with the wires just kind of mocked up on it for now. So everything just kind of stays back here and just kind of routes to, like, for example, the compressor, and then this entire harness does have a plug that then plugs into the controller, so like all that stuff is taken care of. There's like this little antenna type deal that just gets mounted wherever, and then we just have a few grounds back here that we just need to screw into the body of the car, so we'll worry about that in a minute here. And then the other thing was there's just this one yellow accessory wire that needs to get ran all the way to the front to find some sort of accessory, because unfortunately, like, brake lights and stuff like that don't really have accessory. They just have like an on or an off from a switch. We want to have it where when the car's on, we get our power. So I routed this guy up to the front, and I recently, as you guys may know, had to do a wiring for, this is for my trailer. So I have this all back here, and I had to run like a power line to the front for that as well. So I kind of knew, you know, roughly where I was going to run this yellow line, because it's the same spot that that power for that goes. So I basically just routed it underneath the seat over here. So like you'll see, I have the power here. That yellow line goes underneath the seat, like down underneath all this plastic here. I just kind of push it down in there, and then through there you can actually kind of see there's that yellow line running through. I just removed this little like corner piece, so that just pulls out of there, route it down through there. I had to like tuck it around underneath this plastic here, and then from there you just kind of tuck it up underneath all the way, so it's just hiding underneath this plastic here, and you just route it all the way to the front like that, which then from there kept tucking it underneath, getting it all the way to the front. Then from there I was able to route it up underneath this big paneling here, and then up into this section over here behind the whole front counseling here. So we now have this up here behind the dash, and then we just have like all these switches here. I installed my own aftermarket tail or fog lights, as some may know. So I have this button here that has this harness, and I had a feeling that this wasn't going to be auxiliary, but I wanted to check, which it was just two 24 volts on here, constant, so we didn't want that. But then I knew that Toyota has these extra plugs that they just route to the front here, and they're actually like plugged into the back of a couple of these blanks. So I pulled those out quick, and I was just checking the wiring to see basically if any of it was auxiliary or any of it was just 24 positive all the time. So turns out, or 12 positive, sorry. So it turns out both of these plugs actually have one wire that is auxiliary powered. So it doesn't probably matter which one you use, because you're just going to be using one of them regardless. And I don't know what these are for exactly, so just a small disclaimer here. You know, I don't necessarily recommend that anybody does this. It's just what I found the most convenient for myself. By all means, if you want to route the wire out to the engine bay, because there is plenty extra here, and maybe tap into the fuse box or something like that, because it does come with a little fuse jumper adapter. But I just decided to use one of these auxiliary wires instead, because it's a little easier, a little faster, and I'm okay with maybe cutting one of these wires and using it, or whatever I must have to do. But I did completely de-pin the actual plug, as you can see. So I got that guy pulled right out of there. There's like a little access door at the back of this plug, which it's, because it's white, it's kind of hard to see. I can show you on the black one here. Right there, there's that little door actually, like that actually hinges up, and that's what holds each one of these wires in place. And at that point you can just do what I did here and pull that wire right out. So you do have that option to like keep the wire as long as possible. Now you could just trim it and just wire nut it or butt splice it or whatever you want to do to this auxiliary cable that goes to the back. So that's what I'm going to end up doing, just so you guys know. Now, like I said, not sure if this is 100% the best way of doing it, so don't necessarily say that this is. It's just what I ended up doing, and I figured I'd show you guys what worked for me. I did check it with my power, with my voltmeter and everything, and I do have that 12 volts positive auxiliary. It's not accessory. This does say on here accessory / ignition. So it's not accessory, but it is ignition, so I'm fine with that. I don't think I would really need it to be auxiliary because there's really not a huge difference. We just will use the ignition. So anyways, guys, that's what I ended up doing for that guy. Then as far as everything else, it's just a matter of kind of buttoning things up back here, trying to tuck the wires the best I can. Even though I'm going to be laying that suede material over the top of everything, it's still nice to kind of get it laid in here a little better. Maybe I might put some of this stuff actually at the front of the tank where it'll be more like hidden, and the material already has like a little bit of a piece that goes up, so then that whole area won't be all like hilly and valley and like weird from all the wiring. So I have that to kind of rearrange yet, and then everything needs to get like secured down yet. I may need to actually go get some screws and stuff to like secure everything. I do have bolts that I'm going to through bolt this. I did already remove the rear exhaust portion, as you can see, and then I pulled out the heat shielding, so that's just the floor right there. So I can through bolt this, and then eventually I'll put that heat shielding back on and you won't even see those bolts or anything. So there's that heat shielding. But we're getting pretty close. I'm still waiting on the lower portions of the front struts, and then I'm also waiting on all the little fittings for each suspension piece. So we're getting there. It's just a matter of a little bit of a waiting game. It's been almost a week now, so hopefully I'll have that stuff this weekend. If not, next week I'll have to get things put together quickly, because next weekend I actually have a car show that I want to be going to. It's an indoor one that I already signed up for and got accepted. So kind of hoping that this guy's ready by then. It should be though. We're in the home stretch anyway, so you guys will see in a second here. Hopefully I'll have all that stuff in the mail in no time, but I'll see you guys in a sec. Alright guys, it has been a minute. I actually have not been able to do much with the car because I was missing parts. I was waiting on them and everything like that, so I wasn't able to go to any car shows that were coming up. I missed a bunch of stuff, but luckily the car is now officially able to drive. Everything is finally dialed in, so I didn't like really show you guys any of this stuff, but like when I first dropped the car, I was having issues with one side being a little bit higher than the other when it would air out all the way, and it just didn't really look good in my opinion, because there's still a little bit of tire on one side and stuff like that. Like it just looked funky. Nothing wasn't truly dialed in, so I ended up taking things apart, messing with them some more, and I finally got everything dialed in. I had to adjust the collars more. One's a little bit higher than the other, but it allows for it to sink and sit the same. I also had to kind of notch my frame just a little bit to allow for the CV shaft to no longer be hitting at an earlier point than where it does now. It still kind of hits, but the car actually sits lower and more level now, so that's a plus. And then I just had to wait on like the fittings and stuff like that for the actual suspension for the airlines. But everything is good now. Everything's finally dialed in. So it really wasn't that bad once I actually had like everything I needed and everything fit correctly. And basically I was able to just kind of work on it. So getting everything installed, pretty easy. Only took a couple days in total. But then just kind of getting everything dialed in, that was maybe another couple days. Then of course I went and got an alignment because the car was way messed up, like the steering wheel was off and it pulled one way. So everything's kind of dialed in at this point. Now it's just a matter of trying to get you know, out there, get to car shows and stuff like that. But I'm going to show you guys kind of where we're at now, give you guys a quick little review to kind of show you guys how the grind system works. So that way maybe if you guys want to get this system, you can make your own educated opinion on it and consider getting it potentially. So let's get it. I'm going to show you guys everything that's done, and I'm going to show you how the system works, so that way you guys can see. And as you guys can see, here's that final reveal of the car as aired out as it can be right now. So of course, in the front, my subframe is literally millimeters from the ground. So as far as like body kits and things, that's really as far as I can go with the frame. So I would then need a body kit or some sort of side skirts that go a little lower, maybe a front lip, some rear spats, stuff like that, that'll actually make the car show that it's lower, because unfortunately the car can literally not go any lower unless I want the subframe literally touching the ground, which isn't a huge deal, but it is nice to have a slight gap, because if the ground isn't perfectly level, it at least still lets you air out all the way and let that suspension to actually even out. So where I'm barely tucking in the front and then really tucking in the rear with this setup that I've been wanting. So without the body kits and stuff, right now it looks like there's about 1 inch to 2 inches depending on the ground level between my side skirt, and about the same in the front. So unfortunately I'm not like sitting on the floor like I wanted to be, but there's always room for improvement, and luckily I'll be able to look into things yet that I can get to make this car actually be sitting on the ground. You know, drop the old cart on the ground, kick it underneath, and of course you get yourself the car to stop because your car is literally sitting on the ground. That would be pretty dope, especially just for like car shows and stuff like that, and just for my own personal feel good about the car. But I am pretty happy still with how things are with it. It's definitely pretty baller to have my wheels tuck in like they are, and just to be tucking in the front even, in my opinion. I think it fits this car so well being tucking like this. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. You know, are you more of a fender to lip guy? Are you more of that poke guy? You know, stuff like that. But I'm pretty happy with how this tuck-in setup is, mostly because it just fits this hatch so well. Now if I had maybe another car like a Subi or something else, maybe I'd try to go more for that fender to lip. But as far as this car goes, I'm pretty happy with the tuck-in. I feel like it fits it pretty well. Now in the rear here, you can see we are running a decent amount of camber when aired out, and in the front it is just a bit straighter. But I do have that camber adjustment set as much as I can. So really from there, the only thing I could do is look into getting some sort of ball joint spacers that would then pull it out further and let that wheel camber in more. But as far as being on air and everything's still tucking and just sitting low, I don't think I'll really have to. It would only be if I wanted like my wheels to be slanty in the rear and front and kind of match. But of course, we're still dealing with like I said, that tucking that I've been wanting. So I'll show you guys here in the rear, tucking up right up in there. We're not touching the fender or anything. Everything clears really nicely. So that's a perk, of course. So there's plenty of room up there, as you guys can see. But when you look at it, it just looks like it's close. It's nice and tucked. There's no issues there. In the front, that's another story for others that might see it. This fender is actually touching my wheel. So right there, you can see the fender and the wheel are touching. You can't fit anything in there. They're touching. So paint is not staying on this fender. And as far as sitting on the wheel and everything, you don't really get much noise. You do get a little bit of tire noise when it airs out. But as far as the fender, you don't really have to deal with any noises. So it's really just the fact that it's like right there, barely touching it, and the wheel doesn't get scuffed up or anything, so I'm lucky there. But just in case if you guys are wondering, you know, how my current setup works with air, then this is kind of what you get unless you run spacers, unless you run any kind of camber adjustments that are different than factory, stuff like that. So this is kind of what we're dealing with, but I'm actually super happy with it. Alrighty guys, so that is actually it for today's video. Thank you yet again for checking things out. I really appreciate all the love and support that I've been getting from you guys. I really hope that you guys really appreciate, how this system is, because honestly, it's a really great bang for your buck system. Adjustable dampening, you have your adjustment for height, everything can get as low as you need it to be, all for one price, whereas like when you go with other companies that I won't name, you typically have like a performance set or like a low set, and there's different prices and things like that, and it's usually a way higher price in general too for even just the low set. So to get this setup, have a great setup that's actually really reliable. They're really helpful at their customer service. They'll definitely get back to you in a prompt time, be able to help you out with any things or issues or questions that you have, as well as, offering great service in general. And then also from there, guys, you have, the option to adjust your dampening, adjust your ride heights, and, obviously be on air, all for a really low price. So just check them out, guys. The link is in the description. Again, you can use RightsVlogs_ as a code to actually get 10% off of your order, which is a really great deal if you ask me or anybody that I've talked to. A couple $100s off of your order, that's a lot of money in most people's eyes, especially when you're already spending so much on air suspension. Then that really helps to cut down some of that cost that you might be, already kind of forking up in a sense. So check that out, guys. Helps me out, it'll help you guys out, and I want to thank you guys yet again, and I'll see you on the next. Peace.